All right, well, hey everyone, and welcome back. Today I am finally recovered from losing my voice. I know that quite a few of you have been following along with the saga, but I lost my voice for like 8 days there. I think just from overexertion, but we're finally back to normal, which is great. But later this week, Christopher and I are actually going to be celebrating our 5-year wedding anniversary, which just blows my mind. It feels like yesterday that we got married, but kind of in celebration and in honor of that, I wanted to do a little bit more of a personal Q&A, focusing on relationships, marriage, and just kind of some of the stuff that I don't always open up about on YouTube. So I took to Instagram asking for questions and got so many good ones. I, for those of you who don't know, often will ask for things like that on Instagram. So if you want to get the chance to have your question answered in the future, make sure you're following me on there. I'm pretty sure that I post the link to my Instagram in the description box of all my videos, so you can just follow me there. But I got so many incredible questions and I'm excited to dive into them, so I don't want to make this intro too much longer. But before we get started, I did want to share my tea with you guys. This is a cinnamon rooibos tea with oat milk, and it is one of my favorite teas. It is so delicious. So I'm going to sip on this and let's answer some questions. So this first question is, how old were you when you got married and what age are you now? So I was 19 when I first got married and I am 24 now, and Christopher was 21 when he got married and he is 26 now. I'm pretty sure he's 26. Yeah, he just had his birthday. He's 26. So yeah, we got married when we were super young. Okay, and the next question is, how did you meet? Tell us your story. So like with any love story, there's very much a long story and a short story answer to this. So I'll try for somewhere in the middle. Christopher and I met at our church right as I was starting college. I went to a new church because there was nobody my age at the church I'd been going to. And I wanted to find a church with like other Christians who were my age. So I started going to a new church. Christopher was already going. He was finishing up college at the time, and we met there, started dating, fell in love, and then kind of the rest is history. But that does kind of tie into the next question, and that's, why did you get married so young? And obviously 19 is wildly young to get married at. Looking back, I still have a hard time believing, even though it was my own story, that I got married at 19, but that's what happened. So the way that all kind of went down is Christopher and I had been dating for, I think it was about 10 months at the time, and by that point, Christopher apparently on the second date knew he wanted to marry me, but by that time, I think it was around 8 months into us dating, I kind of had this feeling of this is the guy I'm going to marry. And so we had both kind of determined in our heads that we knew where our relationship was heading. And then 10 months into us dating, Christopher got called into a meeting at his work and his company asked him to move to Malaysia. And he got out of the meeting, called me, told me about it, and kind of asked what my thoughts were. And I was like, okay, great, Malaysia, that sounds awesome, let's go. But if you go, you're taking me with you. And so we just continued with our relationship under the impression that we were going to be moving to Malaysia for Christopher's job for 2 to 3 years. So we got engaged, planned a wedding. We literally had bridesmaids and groomsmen. We had a wedding venue, we had food, we had dessert, we had everything planned. And then 3 months before the wedding, we were going to be engaged for 7 months and then married for 3 months before we moved to Malaysia. 3 months before the wedding, though, Christopher's bosses call him into another meeting, and in the course of that meeting, they pretty much out of the blue say, okay, the Malaysia initiative is canceled, you're not going. And we were like, we literally got engaged and planned a wedding under the assumption we were moving to Malaysia, and now we're not. Now, obviously, we've got the entire wedding planned, so we're not going to cancel it, but that definitely changed the timeline a lot for our relationship. So I definitely feel like that's not how most love stories go, but that's why we got married as young as we did. Okay, let's go to the next question, and that's, what attracted you to Christopher and vice versa? Okay, so first off, I asked Christopher what his answer to this question would be, and he said that physically, it was my eyes and my hair. He loves my blue eyes, and curly hair. So that's really fun. And then personality-wise, he just said I was like really easy to talk to, and he really admired my faith. So that's just super sweet. And then for me, I guess we can start off with physically first. I love tan skin, and Christopher definitely has that. He has some like Native American and Latino genes in him. And yeah, I just love tan skin. Any guy with tan skin is just automatically more attractive to me. So that was definitely a draw. And I just love like that dark hair, dark eyes combination. It's great. But then personality wise, I just love how fun and joking Christopher is. He's always down for an adventure. And he also cares really deeply about people on a level that I just don't see other people doing. And it's like a level of care for others that inspires me to be a better person. So I loved that. And then he really loved the Lord as well, which again is super important to me. And he's just really fun to do stuff with and to spend time with, and we shared a lot of common interests too, so it just made being with him fun. Okay, let's move on to another one, and that's, what is the best thing about marrying young? So for me at least, the coolest thing about getting married young is, with most people, what they do is they build a life for themselves. They get a job, a career, a place to live, the list goes on. But essentially what they do is they build a life for themselves and then introduce someone into it later on. What I love about getting married young, especially as young as we did, is like we were literally becoming adults together, is that it really allows you to build a life together, which is really cool. This is another good one. How do you keep the romance alive after so many years? So 5 years is still a relatively short amount of time to be married in the grand scheme of things, but I feel like it's long enough to have been through some difficult times together. And I think that the biggest thing that we've done to keep the romance alive is to continue having fun with each other and doing things together. Yes, we've both grown and changed in the past 5 years. That's natural, that's expected. But so long as you're continuing to grow with that person, I think that it's a lot easier to maintain that spark and continue a romance. At the end of the day, love is so much more about intentionality and action than it is about just mere physical attraction. And so it's important to remain intentional in your relationship even after marriage. Did you ever feel like you were missing out? I can honestly say no, I've never felt like I was missing out. I still do all of the things that I love and am passionate about. I have pursued hobbies, I've traveled, I still have plenty of girlfriends and single friends and married friends, and it really hasn't changed that much of how I live day to day, except that I share my life with someone else. So if anything, rather than feeling like I was missing out, I feel like I just got the added benefit of literally having someone who was always there for me, who cares about me unconditionally, and who I can just do life with. When you're married to your best friend, it doesn't feel like a burden. All right, how did you know that Christopher was the one? So this is a topic that I have feelings about. I don't actually believe in the one. There are however many billion people in the world, and I don't believe that we have like one person who is destined to be our soulmate. I think that when you get married and when you choose to live your life with that person, your husband or your spouse becomes your soulmate. So I guess the best answer to this question is that Christopher became the one for me when I married him. Now, I will say though, when I knew I wanted to marry him was, I think, about 7 or 8 months into dating. Okay, I feel like I get this question more and more these days. Do you want kids? And if so, how many? Yes, I want kids, probably at least 2. And then Christopher and I have said that we'll kind of reevaluate on a kid-by-kid basis. However, that is still probably a little ways down the road. Okay, let's do a bit more of a money-related question. How do you manage your finances as a family? Do you make separate budgets? So I'm a big believer in not sharing finances until you're married, but once you're married, I'm a big fan and just a huge believer in sharing your finances together. So Christopher and I have one bank account, one budget, and I'm probably the more financially minded person in our family, so I'm the one who manages our budget. But I will say, whenever we're contemplating big purchases or kind of larger financial decisions, questions, we always try to talk through those things together just to make sure we're on the same page. Okay, this is kind of the flip side of one of the other questions, but it's what's been the hardest thing about getting married young? I think the hardest thing was just like navigating other people's opinions about our getting married young. We knew that it was the right decision for us, but it could get a bit tiring just trying to explain that to people who didn't intimately know our situation, why we were getting married, why we got married, and things like that. This is a quick one. What is your age difference? Christopher and I were born 2.5 years apart from each other. All right, how did Christopher propose? So Christopher took me to the Biltmore in Asheville. It was my first time going, and the Biltmore is this incredible, I think it's like one of the largest privately owned residences in the country. And there are acres and acres of grounds around it. It's in the Blue Ridge Mountains, so it is absolutely stunning. So he took me there in late November. It was right before American Thanksgiving. And it was absolutely beautiful. They decorated the entire house for Christmas, and we were on a tour of the Biltmore house when he took me out to this balcony that overlooked the mountains in the background and got on his knee, took out the ring, and proposed. So it was so sweet. And so this week, to celebrate our anniversary, we're actually going to be going back to the Biltmore and visiting again for our anniversary. Next up, what is your favorite date idea? So one of my favorite dates that Christopher and I have ever done, and it's actually super affordable too, which is even better, was we got takeout of one of our favorite restaurants. We just got burgers and got them as takeout. And we took watercoloring supplies to a nearby lake. And we just sat there and we ate, watched the sunset, watercolored, we fed some ducks. It was really fun, just a beautiful, relaxing evening where we just got to chat, to spend time together. I think we listened to music. It was just a great date. I will also say I love a good weekend trip too. Christopher and I will several times a year just take a weekend trip to somewhere nearby, whether that's Asheville, Charleston, Raleigh sometimes. But it can be really nice just to kind of get out of the house for the weekend, to get some fresh air. I love going somewhere where there's like beautiful outdoors or architecture, and just walking around, spending time together. I love that too. Okay, for these last several questions, I want to try to answer them a bit faster just so we can pack a few extra in. So let's get started with this one. What did your family think about you getting married so young? Both of our families were amazing and super supportive, and I just so incredibly appreciate the love and support and respect even that they showed of us during our entire relationship. Next, what is the most important thing to consider when choosing a life partner? I think it's really important to find someone who aligns with you on your values and goals. If you can find someone who aligns with you on those, that can make such an incredible difference in your relationship. Do you guys fight? No, we really don't. We're big fans of trying to address things before they become problems and trying not to get emotionally involved when we're disagreeing on something. What do you do together that makes you happy? We have a lot of shared interests, whether that's painting, spending time outside. We like a lot of similar movies and TV shows. We both love board games. We do a lot of activities together. Did you feel financially ready to take on marriage so young? Honestly, not completely, but we did make it work. What do you do for gifts for your anniversary? We don't typically give each other physical gifts. Instead, we love gifting experiences to each other, often in the form of going on a trip. So we've got a trip planned for this week for our anniversary, and then we have another really big, exciting trip planned for later this year that we're also calling our anniversary trip. This one's like a mini trip, and the next one's going to be like a second honeymoon. How do you fend off people asking when kids are coming? People are going to ask, and I just tell them we'll have them when we're ready to have them. Okay, last two questions. When marrying young, is it better to stay with your parents or to move out on your own? I think it's really important when you're marrying young to establish your own independence and to become your own couple. So because of that, I would generally advise moving out on your own. That is what Christopher and I did. However, I will say during the time when we were transitioning from living in Raleigh to moving to Charlotte, there was a few month-long gap where we had run out of the lease on our apartment in Raleigh, but our apartment in Charlotte still wasn't ready. And we did move back in with my parents temporarily during that time. It's not completely ideal, but I really don't have a problem with that kind of thing, so long as there's an end in sight. But I will say we did experience kind of a strain on our relationship during that time. I do think that our relationship became a lot healthier, improved a lot as soon as we were back to living on our own. Okay, that wasn't a super short answer, but that's fine. Last question though is, are there any pets coming in your future? Christopher and I have been talking about getting a dog for the longest time, but we just still haven't gotten around to it. I mentioned our really big trip later this year. We probably won't get a dog until that point, but afterwards we might explore getting a dog. All right, well, I think that's all the questions that I'm going to answer today. I feel like this is already going to be a pretty long video, but I hope you enjoyed just sitting down with me, drinking a cup of tea, and just chatting about some of the more personal things, relationships, marriage, and all of that I haven't always talked about on this channel. If you are interested in hearing more about it though, I would love to make more content around this. This was really fun for me, so just comment down below if you want to see more, if you have any video requests, anything like that. And remember that if you enjoyed today's video and haven't already, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button below for more videos coming at you twice a week. And don't forget, you can always follow me on Instagram too. I'm just at ashlynne.eaton on there. And I'd love to have you join our community. We have a lot of fun over on Instagram, so be sure to follow me there too. Okay, that is everything for today's video though. Thank you all so much for watching, for coming along with me. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.